What's up everyone, it's Doug here with Retro Geek Gaming. Thank you for joining me today for another YouTube video discussion. I have something very important that I want to ask you and talk to you about, and you can always feel free to leave your thoughts in the subject, in the comments down below. In case you can't tell by the subject of this video, we're talking about retro games. More importantly, at what stage does something become retro? And it was something that I was thinking about only because of the fact is that console generations are really no longer relevant anymore, at least from what developers seem to be doing. After all, we do have systems like the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One, and the soon-to-be released Scorpio that seem to be drawing that line, and that used to be with consoles, and just erasing it. That line was drawn, and they're erasing it. Which means that we're getting words like forward compatibility, in which now we're going to have games that can work on the Scorpio as well as the original Xbox, so it no longer matters which one you have. So because of that, now we can no longer say a game is retro at, say, 2 generations back, like you have the current gen, previous gen, and then retro. To me, I don't know. I kind of want to put out there that the console gen, since they're blurred, I would like to think that maybe after a year, a game could potentially be retro. See, I don't really know. It's very difficult to do at this point. Because before, when we had console generations, it was easy to say, well, the 3DS is this generation, the DS is the previous generation, and so the Game Boy Advance and everything before it being legacy systems that are no longer supported through that media, because you can't just take a GBA card and stick it into the 3DS. So therefore it's no longer supported. Therefore it's no longer a current or previous system. It's a retro system, or it's a retro game. And it's easy for a lot of people to agree that stuff like the Atari 2600, the Genesis, the Nintendo Entertainment System, those systems are clearly retro. Because they're 15, 20 years old, a lot older in some cases. So it's easy to decide that. But at what point do we consider something to be retro? And really the only reason why I ask is because developers have this weird life cycle nowadays to where it seems like a game can only really be successful or a failure, and can be determined that way by the sales within, I think, like the first week. It's not very fair for games, considering the fact that we used to have people that they'll go off and they'll play the original Ocarina of Time on a Nintendo 64, to say that that game could potentially be a failure because maybe it didn't sell up to par with a certain other game that may have come out around that time. Now I understand that we live in a day and age of investors and all that stuff, and you have to please the investors because they're the ones that give you the money, but in a way I say the hell with them, because to me a game should be successful based upon how popular it is. And if you got people that they're still playing games, whether they're retro or not, is a successful game. But getting off of that, because that's a completely different video, at what point do we say that, this game is a failure or that it's retro, because, if you think about it, you go into like a game store, that same game could be available in a discount shelf for like 70% off. It could be a great game, but it's 70% off just because it's old, they have extra stock of it, and they need to get rid of it. Is it retro at that point, even if it's on a current gen system, because it's maybe 2 years old and that developer is no longer getting any money off of that game? Or is it still considered to be a current title because maybe it was a successful game, like Super Mario Galaxy for example, and you can probably still get it at full retail cost regardless of how old that game may be? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question. Just something I figured I'd throw out there. It's kind of a short video. Not much to it. Just wanted to get you guys and your opinions. For me, when a system is no longer supported, or when a game is no longer supported and the developer can no longer make any money off of it, it's considered to be a legacy, or it's considered to be retro. Case in point with the Vita. Still a relevant system. Only came out like what, 4 years ago, something like that. But considering the fact that Sony has pretty much ignored it, considering the fact that they don't really make any AAA titles for it anymore, as far as I know, they've ceased production on making them all together. To me, it's a retro console, even though it is still relevant. Same thing with the Wii U. You know, they're not really making any games for it, save Breath of the Wild that's coming out. They're not really making any more of them. And considering the fact that the Switch is going to be using physical cards, you're not going to have that backwards compatibility factor with the games anymore. So I guess it's kind of safe to say that the Wii U games are kind of retro. I don't really know. It's that weird line in the sand that is becoming a little bit more blurred now, because back in the day, when we had, say, the Nintendo 64, and then you went to the GameCube, you could say, well, the GameCube's current, the 64 is previous gen, the Super Nintendo and the NES are retro. Now it's at a point, though, to where, again, the console generations are kind of getting blurred. Again, we've seen it with the Xbox One, where, you know, and even now with the PS4, they have the PS4, the PS4 Pro, and like I talked about before, the Scorpio being 4 times more powerful than an Xbox One makes it seem like it should be a next-gen console, but it's not, because it still plays Xbox One games. And the Xbox One games that are going to come to the Scorpio are also going to be able to be played on the Xbox One, so it's not a new generation. Now, unless, of course, they change something, in which case maybe the Scorpio is a next-gen system that just happens to be fully backwards compatible from out of the box. But if that was the case, then why would Xbox One games still be able to play those same games? I don't know. Seems to me like it's just this weird line. Like I said, maybe we'll get Scorpio exclusive games, kind of like what we did with the new Nintendo 3DS. But even then, with the new Nintendo 3DS, that was still with the Nintendo 3DS. It had more capable hardware, but they did not advertise it as a next-gen system. They didn't advertise it as a next-gen 3DS because it still played the same games. Still had basically the same capabilities. And I guess that's just what I'm getting at. I don't know. I just wanted to make a real quick video real quick. I got a fan theory coming up for you guys about Super Mario Odyssey that I hope that you'll join me for, because I'm really trying to dwell deep into what they've shown off of it and sort of just give my 2 cents on it and what I think is going on within that. And hopefully I'll have a full analysis and breakdown for you guys here real soon. Really looking forward to that. And we also are basically about a week out from the Switch being released. Getting really excited about that, let me tell you. New hardware and new games, especially a new Zelda. That's going to be exciting. But hopefully you guys will join me next time for my next video. Feel free to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter if you don't already. Love to just have conversations with you guys. And I'll see you next time. Have a good one.